Today's video. Today is Thursday, April 9th, 2020, and today we're going to be talking about the 2024 presidential election. So I'm going to go ahead and take a step back from 2020 and focus on the next presidential election and pretty much just discuss the potential candidates that could be running during this election year. I'm going to be going over GOP candidates first and then move over into the Democratic candidates. I think that this election year will be very interesting. Demographics will surely be different in a number of states. This is the projected electoral map based off the 2016 electoral results. Essentially, it just shows you where the electoral numbers have changed. If you take a look, states like New York and Pennsylvania and Michigan have lost electoral votes compared to other states such as Texas and Florida, which have gained. California surprisingly lost one, according to the projections. Originally, California was supposed to actually possibly gain. It looks like they're going to be allocating those, with Oregon gaining an electoral vote, Colorado as well, Arizona. So a number of Republican states also gained, and a number of Democratic states definitely lost. New York, Illinois, I believe Rhode Island went down to 3, yeah. So essentially, this would just be a small increase for Donald Trump, but obviously these 3 states that could make or break this upcoming election might be even closer than it was before. So let's just go ahead and move back to the 2016 map. But this is as of December 2019, so the numbers definitely haven't been recently updated, but not much is going to change in terms of projections from a couple months ago. So when we focus on 2024, I was just Googling 2024, and actually there's no Wikipedia page for it, surprisingly. I thought that they might have one. I'm going to be using the political article. That's where this is from. But there's no 2024, map, I guess. Not really a map. Wikipedia page. I thought there might be one, considering that they would have potential candidates possibly, but I guess not. So let's talk about the GOP's first pick. It's very obvious. It's governor or Vice President Mike Pence. Assuming Donald Trump doesn't win the election, I don't think that this would be necessarily the pathway for Mike Pence. But let's say Donald Trump wins. I think this is the only scenario in which Mike Pence could actually run and have a good starting point. Number one, he's pretty old. He's the former Indiana governor. Interesting thing to note, he half endorsed Ted Cruz in 2016 in the Republican primary, which is just really interesting. But he didn't actually. He just said that he voted for him. It was a lackluster endorsement. He's popular amongst the GOP. He debates really well. If you take a look at the VP debates, sure, Tim Kaine definitely was an easier debater than Hillary Clinton was, but Mike Pence is no Donald Trump. He definitely has a lot more, level-headed tone, very similar to the debate tactics that you might see in Senator Ted Cruz or Senator Mitt Romney, if we're talking about a presidential type debate. But he has no electoral college advantage. When we talk about states like Indiana, this one will just only remain being a Republican state. Last time I went to the Democrats was 2008, and that was just a fluke. So not really important to the GOP. Not really important to the GOP. They will win it 100%, so they definitely aren't going to be focusing on an electoral advantage through Mike Pence. Nikki Haley, UN ambassador, former South Carolina governor, popular figure, very popular. Not that many people necessarily know her on a nationwide level outside of, YouTube politics and Twitter politics, realistically, but she definitely could get that name recognition. Sure, people know her, but she's definitely not a household political name. Nikki Haley, I think she could be a very interesting candidate. She would be the first female president, something that the Democrats have definitely tried to have. And it would just be insane for the GOP to actually have that, because it's been such a, Democrat issue that blaming the GOP for, or labeling them as the party that doesn't necessarily care about women, it would be a very big flip, and that argument no longer could, work, because Nikki Haley would be the first female president. She did say that, I don't know why I'm still on Mike Pence, she did say that Russia did meddle in the 2016 election, so that may hurt her chances, but Donald Trump definitely likes her as a person, and I honestly think that she would be a very strong candidate debate-wise, and just as a face value with her credentials. Honestly, she backs up and pretty much checks off every box that you might see in a potential presidential candidate. The next one we move on to is Josh Hawley. So if you don't know who this is, if you remember watching my 2018 Senate election videos, I was discussing him because he was running against Senator Claire McCaskill, an incumbent Democrat from Missouri. In the 2018 elections, though the Democrats did carry the House, the Republicans picked up 2 seats in the Senate, and net 2 seats. They picked up more than 2 seats. But Senator Josh Hawley was one of the seats that were picked up. was picked up, and it was from the state of Missouri, which now has 2 Republican senators. He's been in the Senate for only a short year, which may be the only thing that once we hit 2024, it'll barely be through his full term, and he'll have to decide between remaining in the Senate or running for president. Politico regards him as the Republican Obama because he's so young and it just seems very energetic in terms of his campaigning. Honestly, I don't think that Josh Hawley will run in 2024. He definitely seems like he could run later on, but definitely might need a little bit more experience. But then again, Obama really didn't. But also, Josh Hawley, I don't know. He doesn't offer an electoral advantage. I don't see why he would want to challenge someone like Nikki Haley. I can almost guarantee Nikki Haley will run for president, regardless of who wins this election. But I think that's a pretty interesting pick. I mean, he's still on the short list, 100%. Now, Governor Ron DeSantis, I mean, this guy went against all odds. He was supposed to lose his governor race in the state of Florida, ended up winning it by a narrow margin, and now has, before the coronavirus, I believe a 65% approval rating and a 40% approval rating amongst Democrats in Florida. I mean, can you find a bigger electoral advantage than a popular Republican governor from Florida? I mean, just taking a look, it'll have 31 electoral votes in the 2024 election. I mean, that would just be a solid lockdown for the GOP. They wouldn't even have to worry about Florida whatsoever, whereas with these other candidates, I mean, you have South Carolina, Indiana, and Missouri already Republican strongholds. But Ron DeSantis, he's popular amongst Democrats, or was popular amongst Democrats. This whole coronavirus outbreak definitely is going to diminish his chances, mainly because a lot of people in Florida do not think that he is doing a good job at handling the outbreak. But we all know that Americans have short memories. I genuinely do not think that's going to hurt him that much. And if we do end up going back to quote-unquote normal, I don't think that he's going to move away from running just because of the way that he handled this entire situation. But he is a very, I guess, notable candidate considering that he offers an insanely large electoral college advantage. As for Don Jr., they also put Donald Trump on here. I honestly don't think either of these two will run. This Donald Trump, obviously, if he loses this election and runs again in 2024, don't think that's going to happen. But for Donald Trump Jr., don't think it's going to happen either. I mean, sure, he's Donald Trump's son, but he's not exactly, number one, barely any experience other than what he's gotten from his father. And yeah, sure, Donald Trump didn't have any experience prior to, but this would just seem like he's following in his father's footsteps, but not in a positive way. As for him, again, no real electoral college advantage. Realistically, he's not as energetic. He's not going to get the same types of crowds that Donald Trump will get. He would need Donald Trump with him every single step of the campaign, but realistically, he wouldn't run. I don't think he would win either in the primary. I don't think Donald Trump would run again if he did lose this election. Now, moving on to Democrats. This is AOC's first chance at running. A lot of people were talking about possibly vetting her for 2020. She could not run for president, but now she can in 2024. She will be, I believe, barely 35 or 36, somewhere around there. But this would be the first time that she would be able to run. And she's a very staunch Bernie supporter. She was very well known for her primary upset in 2018. That was her first time being elected to the New York, I think, 14th district. She beat the fourth top down in the House of Representatives in the primary, which was a huge thing for her, and put her name on the national level. I mean, everyone knows who AOC is, Republican and Democrat alike. Unfortunately for her, she's just another Bernie Sanders, and he didn't win in 2016. He didn't win in 2020. In 2024, I don't think if she's challenging an incumbent Biden, she would win. But if we're talking about an open primary, I don't know. But there won't be that whole issue about getting out Donald Trump. But if Biden's the incumbent, obviously, it doesn't look like she would run. If she did run, she would not win against an incumbent. But she would also be the first female president, but she's a lot more left-wing than Bernie Sanders, might I add. So that's definitely going to be something that's going to be argued against her. As for Andrew Cuomo, we have Andrew Cuomo and Gavin Newsom. Now, Gavin Newsom, I don't think his time is 2024. Andrew Cuomo, 100%. Andrew Cuomo is a very, very notable guy now, considering this whole coronavirus pandemic. He's going to be praised insanely after this entire thing is over. He is doing a lot for his state, and a lot of people are recognizing that, Republicans and Democrats alike. His name and face is all over the mainstream media, so people will remember this guy. There was even some discussion about him running for president in 2020 and entering the race now. And realistically, he wouldn't have that bad of a chance just considering how popular his name has gotten. And moving ahead, well, 2024 definitely is a time period that I think he could run. Obviously, if Biden isn't the incumbent president. Same thing for Newsom, though. I don't think he should run in 2024. I definitely think he has a time later on. He isn't as known as Andrew Cuomo. And though he does handle this outbreak altogether, former lieutenant California governor, now current California governor, I don't think his time is 2024. But Andy Beshear is the last. Oh, Stacey Abrams is after him. But Andy Beshear is the Kentucky governor right now. He won in the 2019 election. It was notable because he had flipped the state from red to blue. Very narrow victory in Kentucky, but a victory regardless. No real electoral college advantage. To be honest, Kentucky's not going to be focused on by Democrats or Republicans. It's Kentucky. It's a solid red state. But I do think that it would be interesting if they did have another Southern Democrat running for president. AOC and Cuomo are from New York, and Newsom is from California. In fact, the Democratic Party has never had a Democratic nominee from California, which is really interesting. Despite how many Democrats are in California. But Andy Beshear would definitely be a Southern Democrat. Speaking of Southern Democrats, we also have Stacey Abrams, who is a possible candidate. She said today that she would be honored to be Joe Biden's running mate, but no clear sign as to whether or not she will be his running mate. She narrowly lost her governor election back in 2018 against Governor Brian Kemp. She's a Southern Democrat as well. She offers the advantage of being the first female president and first African-American president, first African-American female president. But Stacey Abrams, definitely a top name, just got very noteworthy in 2018, still putting her input in 2020. Should be a pretty interesting race. So that pretty much wraps up this video. Just looking ahead to 2024, if you're wondering, this is what the projected electoral map will look like. Narrowly favors the Republicans right now, but if you take a look at the centers that are the states that are slowly but surely moving to the left, Texas, that's 41 electoral votes, Florida, North Carolina, Arizona, these are states that have an increasing minority and Democratic population, so definitely all in play in 2024 possibly, because Texas definitely will be, I 100% think so. But a lot of these states are getting a huge influx of minority voters, and typically minority voters vote Democrat. But that pretty much wraps up this video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.